Alright, let's do a little primer on malfunction clearance. So, I'm not gonna basically reiterate what I was talking to you guys before when we were talking about doing reloads and stuff, right-handed, left-handed reloads, and all the various idiosyncrasies between the two of them. But like I was saying before, if you're left-handed, you can just look into the ejection port and see if there's a malfunction. Versus if you're right-handed, you have to kind of rotate the weapon and cant it to actually see what's going on. Don't just assume that you're out of rounds. Actually make sure that there's not an issue with the weapon. So real quick, just kind of a basic foundation for what I'll try to get into over the course of the day is so when you know you have a malfunction, what you want to make sure you do is you basically want to make sure you identify what type of malfunction you have, and Sergeant Strauss put in the chat, there's a helpful little guide. It's based off of the new TM for weapons training. That has all the various types of malfunctions and stuff like that. What you guys are probably for the most part used to is sports. And sports is kind of a good jump off point for actually handling malfunctions, but it's not going to solve all of them. And I just wanted to show you guys, what it will work with and what it won't work with. So sports, as hopefully you're aware, is you slap the magazine, make sure it's properly seated. You pull the charging handle all the way to the rear, observe around eject, or don't. I would say more observe that a round actually goes into battery, if that makes sense. Release the charging handle, tap the forward assist, and squeeze the trigger. So I think that's a good, I feel what that malfunction would probably most commonly address would be not having the magazine fully seated in the magazine well. So if you don't know, when you have the bolt forward, what can end up happening is when you go and insert a magazine with the bolt that's forward, that's why you slap up on the magazine to make sure it's actually seated, actually in the magazine well. A lot of times when I insert it, I actually kind of give it a little downward tug real quick to make sure it's actually in there. What a lot of people do is they'll put it in and not push it in all the way. So what happens is when the bolt moves back and forth, you can see that it's not going to scoop up that round out of the magazine because the magazine's not actually seated. The slap up on the magazine isn't necessary when the bolt's back, and a lot of times if you insert the magazine too forcefully, you can actually end up knocking rounds out of the magazine. You can actually induce a double feed that way, but it depends on the quality of your magazine. If you have magazines that end up doing that with rounds that pop out when you do that, you might want to consider retiring that magazine. But for the most part, it's not necessary. When the bolt's back anyway, it usually goes in nice and easy. Versus with the bolt forward, where you put it in and then you have to give it a little bit extra push to actually get it seated. So something like that is something that sports is useful for. When you have a malfunction that's a little bit more complex, like say double feed, I'll attempt to induce here real quick. So I've got a round in the chamber. I'm going to push in this magazine here. I'm going to close the bolt, and now we've got a double feed. So if we're going to try to fix this with sports, what's going to end up happening is we're going to slap up on the magazine, nothing happens. We're going to pull the charging handle to the rear, let it go, observe, nothing has changed. We're going to release the charging handle, tap the forward assist, nothing's changed, and we're going to go ahead and squeeze the trigger, and nothing's changed. So you can see right there that for a double feed, nothing's changed and it's still all jammed up in there. It's going to take something a little more esoteric to actually fix this, and actually this is the first step right here. But I'll get into it in some subsequent videos about how to fix the different types of malfunctions, and I'll just post them up as time goes on.